P&S Oversight Committee to order, please.
Recording in progress.
And then we need to, do we need to stream this online, right? Is Amp here ready to stream?
Yep. And
Okay,
we
super.
need to make an announcement about, you have to make the announcement, Lisa?
Yes, I'm unmuted, perfect. Okay. We encourage members of the public to join our meeting via Zoom Gov, which is a secure service for use by government agencies. Joining on Zoom is preferred because there is no lag time. You're connected live to the meeting in real time to the meeting. This meeting is also streamed live on YouTube/City of Monterey with an approximate 10-second delay, and on Comcast channel 25 with up to a 90-second delay. If you plan to make a comment, join the meeting using Zoom on the app or by telephone, making sure you join in time to accommodate this delay. To join the meeting on Zoom on your computer or phone, use the link or phone number on the agenda at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864, then enter meeting ID 160-304-4256. And if prompted to enter a participant ID, press pound. Detailed instructions on using Zoom are available on monterey.org/public meetings. To make a public comment, raise your hand using Zoom, or if you're connected by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute yourself. Public commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak. We ask that public commenters turn off TV or computer speakers or go to another room while connected by phone, as any background noise will interfere with the broadcast. I will call on each public speaker in the order of their hands raised. The chair has designated a 3-minute time limit for today's meeting with a countdown timer shown on the screen. If you're connected live on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. Please stay within your time limit so that I don't have to cut you off. We look forward to receiving public comments.
Thank you. Speaking of which, do we have any public comment at this time?
No public comments at this time.
And we would, I think, just welcome Justin to the Measure P&S committee. And thank you for being here with us, Justin, and for participating. Do we have any other board member comments? Justin, do you have anything to offer to us now in your first meeting?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Perfect. Could we start then with the approval of the April 12th, 2021 minutes, please?
I move to approve.
Second.
Any comments? Any public comment?
No public comments.
So could we have a roll call vote, please, Lisa?
Yes. Patrick Aldinger,
Aye.
Justin Chang,
Aye.
Carol Trebajian,
Aye.
and Nick Sina.
Aye.
And Rick Hoyer is not present.
Thank you. Next, we want to review the unaudited expenditures from July 1, 2020 through May 31, 2021 for conformance to Measure P&S language. Yes, Justin, or Rick.
I think I just had a few technical questions. Oh, sorry. Did Rick want to go first?
No, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Appreciate it. I guess my first question is, what does the AG coding for each line item represent?
Steve?
Is that, yeah, for Director Witry, perhaps?
So that's basically, it's a coding within our finance for a general contract. Wendy, what's that code mean? It's AG, it's in our equipment contracts that we go through. Essentially, the AG numbers are what we use for our typical contracts that are having it. For example, if you go to the sidewalk one, sidewalk subsection 35C 1552, then you go down to Granite Rock is the first one for materials. There's no AG number. When we have Don Chapin Company Inc. and Don Chapin, those are agreement numbers. And the agreement is for our Don Chapin on-call. So AG is, in my understanding, which may not be the technical correct way, that's the agreement number. So it's an actually agreement within the city that has a contract that's associated with it.
Perfect. And then what does the date on each line item correspond to? Is it check issue date, project completion date, or?
That'd be the issue date for the check.
Perfect. And then finally, are there more detailed descriptions of each line item housed at either finance or public works or somewhere else?
So what happens is we send the form through with the invoices and so forth, and they are coded into the system this way with a very quick summary. We have details that we can actually pull for any line item for questions beyond that. Typically, for example, the Granite Rock one, going back to that first example for Granite Rock materials, it'd be broken down with how much rock, how much sand, how much other material that's in there, in that invoice that's coded on the backside. But this high level summary just identifies materials.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Director.
You just call me Steve.
You got it.
Easier.
Rick? Rick, you're on mute.
Thank you, Carol. Well, let's start with page 2 of the claim detail. I just want to make sure I understand this. We have an adjusted estimate of revenues around $8.6 million for the fiscal year, and we're at just under $6 million through May 31st. What's the do we have a prognosis, a best estimate whether we're going to reach that $8.5 million figure in June? Revenues, seat of the pants from what I'm seeing, should be increased for the month of June. Do we think we're going to meet that goal?
Good morning. This is Don Rhodes. Just introduce myself briefly. I'm a financial consultant helping out while the city is in between finance directors. But I was the finance director for the city of Monterey for 14 years. So I have a little bit of background with Monterey. And just to answer that question, it does not look like we're going to meet that 8.6 million. We actually got updated forecast information from our sales tax consultant just recently, just at the very end of last week. The committee asked for, at the last meeting, additional information about both the industry breakdown and the forecast information. So we do have some of that here available. And their estimate now is that we will hit $7,960,000 this fiscal year, increasing to $9,188,000 next year. So the good news is about a 15% increase next fiscal year, or the fiscal year we're in now, over what we expect to get in 21. But it looks like we're going to fall short of that 8.6 million, closer to 8 million.
Thank you very much. And that's actually, pretty close to the original.
Close.
Yeah, 8 million annually. And so that's, I'll take that. That's fairly good news.
Well,
the other thing go ahead, Carol.
I was going to say, given what was going on in the beginning of the fiscal year, we're doing better this year than we did last when we only had, a quarter. I mean, I think that's great. I mean, people decided, when they decided to come back, they decided to spend a lot of money. This is good for us, Sorry, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, and then the next one. I hate to do this to you again, Steve, but I'm just looking at the detail report, and if you could refresh my memory, please, on the on-call entries. It's a significant portion of the budget, and I just want to again be reminded how that works, and that's an appropriate model for dealing with the contracts.
Sure. So, like identifying before, the one AG 7381 Chapin on call as an example.
Yes.
So essentially what we do is we have multiple ways of delivering projects for Measure P or for any project within the city. On occasion, we use the on-call. More often than not, we bid projects of sufficient size, capacity to work through that and bid them and get them in a traditional formal bid aspect. On-call is actually a bid as well. It's an annual contract that we have with an annual cap for citywide services that gets up to $1 million. And it's essentially a job order contract. When we have a need for something, we can have them come in and it's bid. Chapin is a low bidder, or was a little bidder at this period of time. And we can actually issue direct work orders for them for items that are routine in nature or small, or something that may have been necessary to facilitate the construction from another contractor. For example, in this one, the first two lines, 11,000-ish, maybe 12,000-ish, having to do with sidewalk repairs. There are times when we don't have a particular contractor on board who's working, and we want to get a particular area of sidewalk repaired in accordance with the Measure P&S documentation. So we would use the Chapin on-call services for that. I believe that these in particular were related to tree well rubberized filler. When we had our contracts going forward for sidewalk repair, a lot of the sidewalks were repaired due to the tree roots causing cracks and breaks in the sidewalk. We put in new boxes. If the price that we get from our bid is not favorable, or the material changes as it did in this case, we went from the Mexican pebbles, as is very remembered from the group, the Mexican pebbles, to a rubberized permeable surface. That will go through an on-call because it's quicker and easier than just bidding that tree well mode. So there are quite a few going through. We have a little bit of aspects, whether it's a tree well situation, or if we're working with a street project and there's some conforms that need to happen with curb and gutter, we may use an on-call to facilitate the construction of it. So that's the Chapin on-call. That's how we use it. By and large, we mostly use the formal bid process for the going down there for McKim as an example. That was a bid contract that we did for that work. And then for Topes, going down the other one on there, Topes Tree Service, there are on-call tree maintenance, and if there's some kind of root pruning or something that has to happen associated with the our Justin Prouty and his team with the foresters team, we bring Topes in to make sure the roots are not damaged or doesn't kill the trees as we move forward.
And so critically, thank you, Steve. Critically, then that all of those entries are for actual work performed.
Correct.
Thank you.
And is that on-call, that's $1 million total for the year or per project?
A year. So the on-call contract has a year term, and it tops out at $1 million per our charter, so or per our purchasing process. So we use an on-call just as a backup, as an example, not just for general information. We have a sewer line that has failed on Brandon Street on that side of town. We're using our on-call over there, and we'll be able to fix it tomorrow, so we can get response very quickly and handle things without going through a formal bid process to make sure that we're keeping our schedules.
I didn't look. Was there a sewer line fail on Hannon? Because I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other day, yeah.
That's my street. Yeah, that's my block. I was like, what are
Oh,
they?
there you go. What are you flushing?
I didn't
No,
do it.
no.
I'm making sure I do everything that I can at the office and let the
Those
land.
wipes are not flushable, okay? The wipes are not flushable. Back to the schedule.
Rick, do you have any other questions? Because I have one, and I'm sorry to ask. Under the Mexican Pebble heading, what is Devil Mountain for plants?
So basically, when we have to bring in some, it's our vendor for plant material. So it's actual plant product that we work with Louis to get the plant back in the material, and that's the vendor who he uses to supply the plant material.
Okay. All right, perfect. I had not seen this one before.
Yeah, I think that what we actually did is he probably got a better quote from a different one. It is the first time I've seen it as well. And to be very frank, we just trust Louis to get us the best price on his plants and go forward with it, and we, go through that process.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a question.
Yes, Nick, go ahead.
So on the on page 2, the year-over-year comparison, as compared with the upper vertical section for this current year, the pavement expenses are different. When they should be the same. $6,895 different. Oh, excuse me. That's on page 1. Page 1. The 2 columns highlighted in yellow should theoretically be the exact same numbers, but they're not.
Yeah, I'll kick it over to finance. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened with that one. You're theoretically correct. I agree with you.
And then my second question, we've talked a bunch about the revenue pieces previously. Are the expenditures coming in at what you all had been anticipating? I mean, I know construction expenses have increased substantially. Are there going to be issues moving forward, even if we hit 100% of our revenue at some point coming back? Are you all anticipating or finding that things that had previously been quoted, those quotes are no longer standing? Where does that kind of stand?
So yeah, I can answer that. As we're going through the delivery process, we've actually tailored our projects, our formal bids to what the funding is available. You know, right now, as we sit here today on July 12th, prices are escalating. 6 months ago, prices were down. That's why we were able to get a lot of work done for a little bit less cost than the price of gas. Pavement follows the price of gasoline. So when gasoline goes up, pavement goes up. When gasoline is cheap, pavement is cheap. So fortunately, when we were having this past fiscal, when we were having not quite our revenues as we hoped, prices were actually cheaper for pavement, and we actually got a few projects done during that period of time. So I think as a trend, when we match our projects going forward, when we see an increase in our revenue, we're also seeing an increase in the cost. So I don't think the one is particularly outstripping the other at this point in time, but we are actually entering a different phase of the delivery of our projects because, as you guys are well aware, early on we did a vast, I would say probably a 70-30 breakdown between slurry and maintenance seals versus reconstructions. We're going the other direction now. We're about 70% of our projects going through are actually reconstructions, and 30% is going to be for those maintenance things. So the individual projects are going to be pricier, and the number of streets that we hit is going to be smaller because it's obviously more expensive work. But I think overall, with the training that we have, as mentioned earlier, when we went through the process, we were hoping to get $8 million a year. That was our goal. Everything above that was going to be, you know, extra benefit. When we went back for the Measure S aspect of it, we actually jumped that, increased our estimate. I think it was 8.5, potentially 9, which is right in line with what we should be forecasting, or what Don mentioned we're forecasting into the next year. So I think in general we're trending okay. I think that we should be fine because we tailor the construction projects to our budget. And I think that one of the things that you'll see is our pavement is actually, you know, maintaining it right 70 right now is where we're at for our pavement condition index. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of where we're at.
Have we started you now with the new S, with S, not new, it's a new anymore, but we've now started slurry sealing, have we? Because you said it's what, about 5 years you get in the slurry seal, maybe?
That's correct. So and that's kind of one of the things that you may see as people are asking, hey, you're involved with Measure P and Measure S, what's happening? How come this street's been slurry twice and I still haven't gotten my fix on this one once? You're exactly correct, Carol, because the life expectancy of that wear surface of a slurry is about 5 years. And since we're down to year 6, there will be some that we've actually hit twice before some get that first. Now, like I say, we're about 70-30 now in terms of making sure that we're getting those reconstructions happening, but we also don't want to lose the progress that we've made on the existing network. So there will be some streets that have been hit twice before some streets get hit the first time.
Well, and just for Justin's, that he may already know, that the rehab rather than repair is above 50%, Steve, is it? That you do a rehab? Or how does that normally work?
Yeah, so basically what we do, and I'd be happy to meet with Justin alone to go through that process, or the entire group as a different agenda item to once again refresh how we do this process in terms of the payment. But essentially what it comes down to is when we have damages of a street greater than 50%, for example, potholes or things that are, you know, cracking or severe, we call it alligator cracking, where the pavement has just failed or the base material has failed. If 50% or more of the street is in that section, and we define a section from intersection to intersection. So if that block has 50% or more that needs to be replaced, we replace the entire thing because there's no point in just trying to spot repair. Less than 50%, we'll do what we call dig outs, where we take the failed section and then we put a slurry coat over the top of it to make the whole street fresh, if you will. And that's just kind of what we do as a slurry seal. For comparison, I think our latest prices were in the order of about, I'm guessing here, but it's in the realm of 50 to 60 cents a square foot for a slurry. Whereas for rehab, you know, we're looking at, you know, $3, $4, $5, depending how thickness per square foot. So it's substantially more expensive to do a rehab than it is to do a slurry project.
Thank you. So I just need to make sure, because in the beginning of P, it appeared to me that my street did get done, and I mentioned it to the mayor that I thought he was trying to kiss up. And I'm just wondering now, I've only seen the sewer get fixed. I haven't seen, I'm kidding. It looks fine. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Is it any public comment?
No public comment, but I wanted to mention that I'll make a correction to the year-over-year comparison. I took, let's see, so it should be $938,117. That should match the top chart. So I'll make that correction to the report.
Great.
The detail later in the report supports the $3,640,000 in pavement costs. So I'm not sure what happened on the year-over-year comparison. Apologize for that. We'll get that fixed.
Perfect. Thank you. And any other comments? Could we have someone move to approve the unaudited expenditures from July 1, 2020 through May 31, 2021 for conformance to Measure P and S language?
So moved.
I'm happy
So
to.
if Nick moved that, if Nick moved that, I'll second.
Okay. Do we have any comments, any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comments.
Okay, could we have a roll call vote, please, then, Lisa?
Yes. Patrick Aldinger,
Aye.
Justin Chang,
Abstain, please.
Carol Trebajian,
Aye.
Nick Sina,
Aye.
and Rick Hoyer, not present.
Thank you. Next, if we could, we're going to review the unaudited periodic report for the period of July 1, 2020 through May 31, 2021.
So typically what would happen here, Nat and Don, it would be the finance director would just do a quick summary of this report just for them. It's just kind of what we've kind of gone through the process. So trial by fire, welcome.
I may ask Don to help us through this process here, but happy to walk the report as well. Don, you
Certainly, yeah, and I clicked on that item and it's the staff report essentially. Is that what we're all looking at?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. All right, well, this is the measure P&S activity is essentially the report that we just looked at that some questions were asked about. And I noticed in this report, the correct number is used in both the 3,640,000 for the pavement cost. So I'm not sure why it was different in that other version of the report. But in this report, it's essentially showing us that through May 31st, we'd collected $6,071,000 in total revenues, almost 6 million of that in the sales tax revenue, and about $76,000 in interest. The interest I noticed was quite a bit less than it was the same period the year before. I wondered about that. It's a combination of there was a larger cash balance in the year before, as well as interest rates have dropped quite a bit since just last year. And so that contributes to why we've only got $76,000 in interest rather than $177,000 that we had last year at this time. The expenditures we looked at last time, $7,009,000 through May of this year, substantially less than what we looked at last year, but keeping in mind these are not operating costs, these are capital costs, and so it's going to vary quite a bit as you look back over the years. You can see quite a bit of variance depending on what projects that Steve's able to get underway and completed in any one year. So I don't think that's any kind of issue there. So with that revenue and that expenditure, it leaves us through May upside down $938,000. But again, this is not an operating budget, so that's not it's not a particular problem. It just means that we're using some of fund balance to fund some of those projects. And so that's not a particular issue there. Year over year, the chart on the next page, so it shows the same numbers, but year over year down 12% through May for sales tax revenues. But that's actually quite a bit better. I looked at the report from the last meeting back in April, and at that point, if we'd looked at our sales tax consultants report, it was actually down 29% in the last report, sales tax. So it's down for the year so far, 12% tax revenue. So that's actually an improvement over the last time, even though it's still a negative number. And then, as I mentioned earlier, our sales tax consultants are projecting a 15% increase over the expected amount for 21-22. So that's positive as well.
Yay.
So those are some highlights, but I'm not sure what else has been gone over in the past. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions if you have any.
A couple of things that for Justin, we don't have to in any, well, you have a deficit, but in any 1 year, correct, Steve, you do not have to spend the money that we collect in a year. And at the end of the process, if let's say the first 4 years of P, you did not have to have all of the money collected spent in that time frame. Is that correct? You get the project lined up, and then it will be spent as you need it.
That's correct. There's no time frame or delivery date associated with the money that comes in. Obviously, we're doing our best to expend it expeditiously as possible to do that process, but there is no challenge if we have excess budget, as we've had in years past. It rolls over the process within the CIP, and we deliver it as we can.
Are there any questions about the report? Nick, Justin, Rick?
None for me.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Then could I get a motion to approve this annual report, please?
Motion
So
to
moved.
approve. Second.
Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comments.
Thank you. Then may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Patrick Aldinger,
Aye.
Justin Chang,
Aye.
Carol Trebajian,
Aye.
Nick Sina,
Aye.
and Rick Hoyer's not present today.
Thank you. do we have any other? We did very well today, didn't we? Didn't take too much of your time, Steve. Get back out there and fix my streets.
So what I can offer, because I know we're going through different finance directors, and Don is very sharp, and that's kind of sharp. No, I'm just kidding. And that's a great guy as well. But you know what, we're going through the process with Justin coming on board. If there's information that's set in a confusing way, or you'd like to see it in a different way, please let us know. We're here to serve you guys, and if there's something that's confusing, in error, we can adjust it for next time. If this is the whole effort is to try to make you guys feel comfortable. So let us know if there's any changes or to the format that we should make going forward. So, but yeah, awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
I
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Ray. Sorry.
I would just add again for Justin's benefit that those requests have been made actually in the beginning of this process. For those of us who have been on the committee for a while, near the beginning, those requests for presentation of the data in different ways and different types of data were actually quite frequent and numerous. And the city staff, Steve and his staff, were very responsive and made adjustments as we requested. And so that's all gone quite well.
Yes, I just would repeat that, and thank you, Nat. Nat is always responsive, and
Thank you, Carol. And
we appreciate your efforts. And again, that our hope is that with Measure S, that the streets, everything gets up to snuff in that amount of time. But after that, there's going to have to be some kind of maintenance, or else we're going to go right back down to where we were. So the goal initially, Justin, we did 4 years and said we'd let them know how after 4 years, if we liked what they did, we'd go back again, which we did. And the public liked it even better, that the citizens liked it even better, this Measure S. So when we're finished with that, again, it appears, I don't say it appears, we're going to have to do something that's going to maintain the streets, or we are not, we'll end up back in the same situation again where we were when we started with Measure P. So the more transparent they are, the more the work goes well, and that the documentation is all positive, the better chance we have again when we need to, in 6 short years, I think it is, that we'll be able to get the next version voted on, and so that Steve can keep working on everything. Perfect. Thank you.
And Carol, if I could add, and thank you for those comments, and Rick as well, and just echoing Steve's comments here, with the finance director recruitment ends. Applications are due to the headhunter at the end of this week, and we do hope to have a finance director hired by the end of September. So with that timeline, hopefully with the new director on board, we'll be able to make sure we serve all of you and get the information that you need in a way that's accurate, timely, and the way that you like it presented. And I used to serve for 4 years on an oversight committee for a measure in the city, in Northern California city where I used to live, and it was always helpful to have that onboarding process and a one-on-one with the finance team. So just as Steve said, we'd be happy to sit down and meet with you one-on-one and talk more in detail. I'm not sure if we've had that full onboarding process with you, Justin. So wanted to extend that invite to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And if I could add as well, just a second, what Steve said, even though the permanent finance director won't be on board probably till the end of September, if you have questions on the finance side, there's some good ones asked today. Please feel free to let us know, and we'll make sure you get the information that you need.
Thank you, Don.
Any other comments? No other discussion? Any public comment?
No public comments.
Then I would vote to recess the meeting, the July meeting of the Measure P and S committee. And thank you all very much. And we will see you next quarter. Thanks.
Thank you, Carol. Thank